And the way in which it's done is people jump into the grave after the person is in the ground, and they lift the cover, and there's a grip, something they hold on to that pulls up a panel on either side from the bottom, and the person ends up lying directly in the ground. I felt that while this is a very nice thing, in Israel we bury without a casket, and it's certainly preferable if we could bury without a casket.
Is that, even in Chutz La'aretz, you would recommend that?
Sure. It has nothing to do with Chutz La'aretz Eretz Yisrael.
So if we were in a state where there was no requirement by any state, county, or municipality to bury within a casket.
No. Derech Olam is outside in Chutz La'aretz that we carry a person to the kever in an aron.
Okay.
So I think we would do that regardless. But the crew itself, if we can do it in the ground, it's probably the better thing to do.
So would this be something you would recommend the local Chaver Kedishas encourage?
That's exactly right. That's what we are now recommending.
Carry in a casket and bury without a casket.
Carrying the casket, carrying the skin, giving that as an option, where you could bury in the casket and bring it to the grave in the casket and then remove the bottom. But let me show you what we created.
What do you call it?
What do we call it?
Yeah.
The field directors call it the Houdini box. I'm just kidding, but I'm serious. That's what they call it. That's not what it's called. It's called a casket that opens at the bottom. We haven't officially given it. We have to get a name for it. Okay, better than the Houdini box. Okay. Anyway, we'll work on it. It's a bottomless aron. Okay. How's that? Now, if you look at this box, I hope everybody can see. If you look at the box, you will note that it's a regular plain pine box. It's actually rectangular, okay, and that is to give us the greatest amount of width throughout the casket. And it has ropes that come out on either end of the casket, okay, with a knot so that the rope won't fall into the casket, okay? And these ropes are below the cover. Now, what you don't see from here is that these ropes, the way they look, it looks like the hole is drilled straight horizontally into the casket. It's not. The hole is drilled almost straight down, almost vertically, but on a slight angle, so that it goes through the side of the box, but in a way in which the rope will not get caught. It goes very easily, gets pulled up and pulled out, and so on. Okay, so that is what the casket looks like from the outside. You would obviously have to designate, as you would in any casket that is rectangular and doesn't have any fancy lining, and you're not going to know which is the head of the foot. So you would have to designate which is the head and which is the foot. Okay, next. Now you can see the inside of this box. The inside of the box, the body is lying on two planks with a gap of about 4 inches. Each of these planks are actually about 10 inches wide. And if you notice, there is a board at the top of the box and also at the bottom, which you can't see, that goes across the entire bottom, goes across both sides of the casket and connects both sides of the casket, and that is doweled. That doesn't move at all. It's stationary. It's about 10 inches from the end of the casket. This one might actually be an earlier version. It might have been about 8 inches, but the ones that we're selling now are about 10 inches long on either end that support those planks. Now, if you go to the next one, you get a much closer look. Now it looks like 10 inches, okay, or close to it. You see that miter? You see where it's angled? That's so that when you pull out the boards, the head doesn't move. The head is right in the center. When you pull the boards out, the head isn't going to move at all.
And is that at both ends?
It's right here. This is the head. No, the other side is the feet. The head is right here. The other side is the feet.
So this is what we tell you, which is the head.
Right. Well, on the inside, once you open it, you know. From the outside, you won't know. So this is the head, and it's why we actually made the miter a little sharper even. So this is what it looks like on the inside at the head, so you understand that if you have someone that's Excelsior on top and you have the pillow in the middle, it's not going to move the head. The head will stay stationary. Next. Now, once the body is all the way in the ground, When it's at the cemetery, before you lower it, you pull out the ropes. You extend them fully. They come out about 8 feet. Okay? These ropes get fully extended all the way about 8 feet out. However, the board is still flat. The board hasn't been touched yet, okay? Before the body is lowered, the board is completely flat. He's just showing you how this is once it's in the ground. Once the body is in the ground, you have 4 ropes, 2 on either end, that extend outside of the grave. The body's been lowered, the casket's been perfectly positioned. 2 people, 1 on each side, 2 people on one side and 2 people on the other side. Take those ropes and just pull up. Now take a look at the rope. I don't know if you can see it so clearly from here, but the rope is coming from underneath the plank. Okay? The rope is actually, the knot is actually visible. You can see it on the foot side, on his right hand. If you look at the knot on the one that corresponds to his right hand, you will see the knot is at the top. The rope comes from underneath the board. So when you pull up, it naturally pulls the board up this way. It's amazing. We've done this about 5 times. I will tell you the amount of effort it takes to pull it up is almost effortless. There's almost no tension at all. Next one. Now it's fully extended. Here you can see it clearly how the rope comes from underneath, and it pulls it up very naturally because, as I said, the hole that is drilled is almost straight through. If you see it here, you'll see it's about 1.5 inches from the top of the casket, but on the outside it's about 1/2 inch from the top of the casket. So that through a very thin piece of wood, it travels about 1 inch, so it's pretty almost straight, and it stays there. That's where the board stays. Go on.
Why doesn't it fall over? Why doesn't it fall over?
Because the body is lying against it, so it won't fall over.
The rope is pulled from the other side.
What?
The rope is pulled from the other side.
The rope, as I'm saying, well, once it's stationary, why does it then fall over? Because the body generally keeps it from falling over. Unless the only reason it comes up is to pull it up, okay? But once it's up, more often than not, at least one part of the body is touching it. And at that point, it'll hold it in place, okay? Go on. So that's basically it, okay? It's a very, I will tell you, the first time we tried it, there's a man in Far Rockaway who was very taken with it. He actually wanted to give us a very large donation to make this but he was very uncomfortable with it. He didn't, by the way, give us the large donation. He gave it to us, but not for this. But in any case, he's a part of a Chevra Kadisha, but this was his mother-in-law who was being buried. And he didn't want to be involved in pulling up the thing the first time. He was uncomfortable with it. But then we had a few months later, we had a friend of his that passed away, and we used the box again. Okay? And he said, I want to be one of the people who pulls it up. I want to know what it feels like. And he was amazed at how simple and, you could tell there's no tension, it really works.
In a picture, you see plastic, but normally it's ground, it's earth.
Well, yeah, right. Here it's sitting on plastic. Normally it's earth. There is a board underneath.
Now, those horizontal boards.
They stay. It's not right. So the head is going to still stay on a board. The head is not going to be directly on the ground, but almost the entire body will be.
Who is going to be allowed to move?
Members of the Chevra Kadisha or members of the community, whoever is at the cemetery that normally would lower it down or fill the grave will do that.
Okay, and whoever's going to fill the cave also?
Right.
Okay, is there a mark on the rope so that before you lower the box, you pull out of it, but you don't pull out too much?
It's an excellent question. The answer is you pull up enough, and if you feel the slightest amount of tension, then you stop. There is some. You realize that you could feel that you have to pull. You have to pull
A lot
up.
of humidity, wouldn't things tend to swell? Perhaps you would consider putting a mark on the rope.
Not a bad idea at all. It's an excellent idea.
When you see that mark,
I'll tell you why it's an excellent idea. Because the one time that we almost had a problem, somebody was stepping on that cord. as we were lowering the casket. And they didn't realize it, but if you would see that mark, then it would have given it away. We caught it, and thank God it was fine. But it's, Rabbi Trapper was buried in such an area, so was Rabbi Grumblatt, by the way. Some of our people here know.
But the top of the aroma has the wood piece of wood.
Complete wood that never gets touched. You see, the way it's constructed, there is no way that it could ever pull out the board. Even if you pull all the way and the board comes up, it'll only come up till the level of that hole. It can't go higher than that. There's no way the cover will ever come off.
Same cost as a regular box?
Same cost as a regular box. They're selling it now, I think it's selling for about $250. Okay, for the box, and then the shipping, if it's going to be shipped to Florida, there will be a shipping charge. But he wants to ship in bulk. He prefer that he ship like 10 or a dozen, whatever, so he's saving the shipping. But
Yeah, well, the question is, certain states, like in Illinois, I don't think they could do it.
in Illinois, they do worse than that. In Illinois and Chicago, they take people out of the box.
Nobody sees this.
It's in
Aren't the cemeteries there that
There are liners.
yeah.
If there are liners, I would probably not do this unless you have an open lined bottom, an open liner. But if you don't have an open liner, if you can fill earth into the liner, there's no problem. But if you can't fill earth into the liner, I would probably not do it.
Wait, why would that make a difference?
Because to put it on concrete, on raw concrete, I think the body lying on raw concrete, I think might be just very uncomfortable. In other words, it's a question of maybe pull it out even for it to hit the concrete, you know, it's not, I think it would be very uncomfortable. If it was in the earth, I'd say yes, in the concrete, I don't know.
It's very big.
But we talked about having it available in a much wider size. If it's really that tight, I would not use the urn. To be very honest with you. If it's really a person that's very, very large and barely fits into the urn, it's not an urn that could be used. It'll just make it that much tighter. There isn't 2 inches to be given. Each of these pieces of wood is 3/4 of an inch, so you're talking about 1.5 inches. If a person's really very wide and fills the entire urn, it's not for them. Okay? I don't know what they do in Borough Park for such a person either, for that matter.
Slides up the side.
It's unbelievable how it slides up on the side. Yep, I will tell you, when we do it, we also try to be very careful to wrap the sovave as tightly as possible. But whatever it is, I will tell you, we have done it now enough times that I feel it's a very, very, very practical and simple process. It's just the Chevros Kadisha who prepare the body have to know what it is that they're doing. They have to know, first of all, how the board is set up before you put the body in, so that you set it up the right way so that the rope is coming from underneath. Because someone who doesn't know could just put it with the rope coming from the top. And then you really will have a problem because it really won't do the trick. So you have to know what you're doing. That's one of the reasons I'm showing it.